New World Order.
Yeah. Okay. Is that it? All right. We're here. It's episode 50, the Six Man Tag Podcast, right here on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. 50. That's that's a milestone.
Searching for.
See, now you could be rude to Siri.
See, like why? I've said nothing. If I've said anything that should trigger an Apple device, please let me know in the comments. I don't think I have.
Oh, I can't believe that. Ooh, like literally just happened before we started recording, and what's the first thing to happen as soon as we start recording?
Just say random words. That's all it takes. It doesn't matter. It's really itching to look something up for me, but then they can't find anything. Wasted time.
That's hilarious.
Anyway, episode 50. We're here. We're live. Well, we're not live. We're recording this on a Wednesday, release on a Friday.
We're live right now.
You guys know the deal. We'll do it live. Fuck it.
Hold
Live
in the
on
ring.
Zoom.
Fuck it. Yeah, Mike. Joining me as always. It's CJ.
What's up, everybody? CJ here with you once again, aka Craig Francis from back in the day. And I got to tell you, I'm pretty fired up, boys. I'm fired up for a reason, because today we're doing a show on one of my favorite parts of wrestling, the part that I thought I was pretty good at back in the day. Probably not so now. I'm a little out of practice, obviously, but I'm just fucking with you. It's the skill that never leaves you. The way to work the stick. We're talking about promos, boys.
That stick.
Yeah, that stick. The other stick, that's a different thing in wrestling. That also gets worked a lot, but we'll
hold on. Let me
another
close,
episode. We'll have to have Andy
close a couple tabs since
the hub. You got to close the hub while we're talking. Anyway, before we get to Mike's use of the hub and promos and everything else involved in today's show, we got to pass it along to our third man down the pipe, our not so mystery tag team partner, the sadistic Hasidic himself, Skyler.
Wow. Wow.
We're live, pal.
Oh, original run me would have been so proud of you for that. Damn.
What, you're not proud of me now? Come on.
Oh no, I am proud of you now. I'm just saying. I got totally thrown off my game now. And also my intro was just going to be a quick little tribute, because you just take some chicken, you put some mayo in there, and throw some grapes and some walnuts, and you mix it up, and earlier today, legendary wrestling promoter Jerry Jarrett has gone to the other side. Just wanted to throw in a quick tribute for him.
Bruce Pritchard doing Jerry Jarrett. I got you.
Exactly.
But yeah, we're going to talk about promos. I mean, we're not necessarily going to sit here and list, these are the best promos. These are hard times. Ric Flair, Royal Rumble. Like, we're not going to sit here and do that. I think they'll come up. They'll come up, but
we're going to talk about the significance of them and what goes into them.
Right. I'll just say I don't have a list.
Conviction.
What about my top 10 list that I made that this whole episode was based around? Wait, what?
Well, in that case,
we're not doing that. No,
you did work for us then. Go for it.
I'm just kidding. I didn't do that.
Go.
Well, I disagree with your number 6 promo of
Hey, maybe that'll get us some comments actually if we just did do something like that.
I mean, it probably would, but
be like, what do you think? What do you think of our list? And people would be like, I fucking hate you. I hope you all die, because it's the internet and that's what happens.
It sucks. I actually saw this promo at an indie show in 2004 and it was awesome. It was awesome.
It was awesome.
It's can't have nothing nice these days.
No,
Not nothing.
Promos.
What
I feel like this. I guess I'll start off by saying it feels like at least a little bit that we're coming out from the other side of how, because I feel like for a good while when promos were just like when it was literal just writers, and I think it might still be that to maybe a lesser extent now, but when literally every line of every promo was scripted for a good period of time, especially when maybe before all the indie guys got signed by NXT, that's how they were all being taught, I believe, was just like, yeah, no, this is how you do it. This is how it goes in our system is, the writers write for you. You don't have to worry about promos so much. And like it came across on TV where it's like very rarely did you see someone that delivered such a good promo where it wasn't obvious that like, all right, these guys are just trying to act and read lines. And I think that kills promos for me right away.
Yes.
When you can tell, or not even when someone's not good, when you can tell like, all right, this is written for somebody. This isn't even like their voice. Like they might as well just hold up a piece of paper and read it.
Yeah. The cookie cutter promo, whatever you want to call it. Like, the whole cookie cutter approach that I feel like went through WWE, I'd say through the last kind of 10 years of the Vince reign.
Yeah.
It was just that. And I think like a lot of it became stale and then something changed. They got some competition and then slowly we started seeing these changes in WWE. We're like, all right, WWE's starting to get a little better. And then obviously the stuff with Vince happened, for better or for worse, whatever you want to say about the TV product since Vince has left has been better.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it just kind of seems to keep elevating there. And I think part of that, obviously you actually have a competition with AEW that actually is, doing better shows and doing better draws and has an actual TV contract, unlike what happened with TNA Impact and stuff like that back in the day when they were a competitor. I feel like AEW is even a bit more of that, a little bit ahead of that at this point. Maybe not of like impacting their prime, but they've got to be at least kind of comparatively close to that. But beyond that, to just let guys have the freedom to be themselves and cut their promos, like, WWE doesn't hire guys. I shouldn't say this because that's not absolutely true, but when I was training and the guys that I knew that got WWE tryouts, and I've known quite a few of them at this point, they would come back and they would tell us like what it was all about, and promos was very much a part of it. They wanted to see you cut promos live. They would give you keywords. They would, a few of the guys when they came back from these tryouts, we literally did like camps at the school I was training in where we would just do the same, like literally just go through a fake WWE tryout so we could all see what it was like. And the guys who came back would kind of put those together for us.
Yeah, right.
So like I know that like all this stuff was part of it. So you're not going to just hire guys who can't talk. And if you knew that they could talk when you hired them, why are you constructing this box for them to have to speak through, basically, when they go out and do it live on TV? Like, you have these guys come in and audition doing promos for you. Let them go out and do promos for you. And if they flop doing their own promos, then you take them back and you tool them out and you work with them and you try again. Or if they just can't get it, then they're not going to make it. That's just not, it's not their thing. Like, they could be a great wrestler. If they can't cut promos, then maybe you get them a mouthpiece. Maybe you get them a Paul Heyman type, if that's what you need to do, if you want to keep them around that bad. But at the end of the day, if like you got a guy who can't cut a promo, you got to either teach him or move on. You can't just write lines for him and expect him to get better at it like that.
I feel like we kind of just described like the last 10 years. And if you go back to the 80s, where I think a lot of guys, not that they couldn't cut promos, but like you look at like the Heenan family, where anytime you wanted to get like a heel wrestler over, it kind of didn't matter if they could talk because Bobby Heenan will just do it for them.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. Like I'm kind of forgetting other guys at that time that might have done it. But as far as high profile as him, I'm kind of drawing a blank.
Oh, you got Jimmy Hart. You got
Oh, right. Yeah. Jimmy. At the time, I mean,
you got Sensational Sherry. She managed quite a few people at a time where it felt like she kind of had a stable going.
And could talk too.
Yep.
But
And she did. She would
Jim-
cut promos for her guys too.
Jim Cornette.
Shawn Michaels for
Jim
a minute.
Cornette, of course.
Oh, that's right.
Jim Cornette. Yeah, you can't forget about Jim Cornette.
Motherfucker.
I mean, you could date Paul Heyman back to that time.
Absolutely, Paul E.
So
Paul E. Dangerously. And
He
the what was his team in WCW? Didn't he have like
Dangerous
the Dangerous Alliance?
Yes, the Dangerous Alliance. That's what it
With
was.
Go Figure, stunning Steve Austin as one of them. Who you know, if there's anyone that turns out didn't need a mouthpiece.
Yeah, of course.
By the way, speaking of Steve Austin, I don't know if I'm going to call this a transition or not. Probably not. But have you ever seen the few promos he did for ECW?
I was just about to ask the same question.
Yeah, well, because like
the one in particular where it's literally just the camera in his face and he's cut, and it's like a 2-minute promo, and he talks about Eric Bischoff and he talks about how he was fired over the phone and all the other things, right. and how he's just going to be a rising star from here on out. Basically, that whole promo in and of itself, that one promo, I remember I saw a video, an interview of Paul Heyman talking about it, and Paulie was literally talking about how he had tears in his eyes as Steve was doing that, because he was standing in the room with him, obviously, when he was cutting it, and he had tears in his eyes at the end of it. And he knew after this promo, and of course this is Paul Heyman talking in interview fashion, where of course he's going to talk about how he has all the hindsight in the world and everything else. But he said once that promo came out, he knew that he wasn't going to have Austin for long.
Oh, right. Yeah. I mean, right. Whether he's just making that up for an interview or not. Yeah. But I mean, it's true. But like, and that's a perfect example of like, sometimes just let guys do their thing. Like, it's like, and it's funny because like, obviously, like we know the story. Steve Austin gets signed by WWE, but then he doesn't talk. And then he's just like, well, here's Ted DiBiase,
a ringmaster.
Like, obviously, like that's not, well, obviously, like you can look back. Yeah, the gimmick sucked and all of it sucked, but it's like, hey, we're gonna put you with Ted DiBiase. Like, that's not a terrible idea to be pitched, like in theory.
Yeah,
but obviously in execution,
cutting into the business, especially cutting into WWF at the time, I don't think anyone's going to turn that down. Like, even a guy like Steve Austin, who knows he's like, I want to be a solo guy. Like, he knows that, like, all right, this is the way in, and I'm going to be hooked with a bona fide legend right off the bat. I don't think that's a bad way in for anybody.
Question.
It's as bad as they executed the ideas and as bad as the gimmick was, I don't think it's a bad in for anybody.
No.
Quick question.
Right. Obviously the execution bad. Yeah, go ahead.
Is Austin a former $1 million champion?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
How do you know?
Absolutely.
Add it to the resume.
I think his debut, he had like some bullshit jobber squash match, and DiBiase just put the belt around him and it was like, here's your new $1 million champion, basically. And I think that was like either his debut or very early on, because like he came out right away with Ted.
Former $1 million champion. But there's guys all over the place, and I feel like promos have different eras. I feel like to kind of go back to the 80s, where the majority of promos were just more interview style, like, you know,
brother.
Exactly. It was just, you know, Mean Gene holding a mic and Hulk Hogan saying,
let me tell you something, brother.
Hulk Hogan saying,
hard time, baby.
That was before the 80s. That was like 70s, wasn't it?
Hulkamania was the 80s.
No. I'm talking about Dusty. I thought Dusty was more like late 70s, early 80s. But I guess early 80s is still 80s.
I mean, you could sort of say that maybe, I guess I'll say like I don't even know what it was called at the time, but the Four Horsemen, was it Jim Crockett? Was it, you know, NWA? Was it WC?
JJ
whatever?
Dillon?
Yeah, like all the Four Horsemen, when they would all just cut promos at like the desk. Like, I feel like that was maybe like, I suppose you could say, the start of.
Or how about DX cutting a promo at a podium?
Well, I mean, is that a promo?
You know which one I'm talking about.
Well,
very quickly.
It's a vignette. It's a vignette, but a vignette is a promo. There's no difference. A vignette's a promo with like a theme.
CJ.
Yeah.
Hard Times was October 29th, 1985.
Son of a bitch.
thought it was in the 80s because
Well,
I
it's
thought
like-
Dusty. I don't know why I thought
Ric
Dusty was a
Flair.
little older than that. I guess.
Well, that was with Ric
Yeah,
Flair, and
Flair.
Ric
Yeah,
Flair
Flair was
probably
huge in
was
the
in
80s, so-
title 5, 6, somewhere around
Yeah.
that range.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm talking about most of the time. You guys should know that. I just make shit up.
Hard times, baby.
Hard times.
Are you going through some hard times?
I'm always going through hard times.
I mean, I guess I'll say for you guys, listen, there's obviously like classic promos. We're sort of like riffing on that now, going through the different eras, but like obviously everyone has their different preferences. So I mean, I'll ask Craig first. I mean, what makes a good promo for you? Like, what's entertaining? What needs to go into it for you?
Well, the number one thing I think, that was kind of like drilled it between not only my training, but like just like what I look for and what I enjoy is believability. And like whether you're reading from a script or whether you're speaking from your heart, as long as you can make me believe, or the audience, the kayfabe audience, as long as you can make them believe that like what you're saying is real, even in the suspension of disbelief, whatever you want to call it, like to be like, oh wow, that was, you know what, he sounds like he means it, he's impassioned, he's whatever you want to call it. That's a thing to me that makes a good promo. And you can do this in many ways. Many people have had different successes in many ways. Some people can get real loud and make their points known with a lot of loud talking or yelling. But then you got guys like Jake the Snake, who was famous for almost whispering some of his promos when he got real serious, and he would bring the cameraman in real tight, and he would talk about how he's gonna DDT that motherfucker in the dirt. And there's always different ways, but like those were always like the best guys at it for me. Were the guys that like made you feel something, made you go, ooh, all right, this is cool, this is serious, this is whatever it got you to feel. As long as it got you to feel something, that's the most important part.
Right. Makes sense. Skylar, I mean, I don't know if it's kind of some of the same answers or if you have different preferences, but
I guess a way of wording it for me would be make me think you're talking to me, not that you're reciting a script to me. Like if you're going to cut a promo, I want it to believe that you are telling me this. You are delivering this promo. This is coming from you, not from some script that was given to them back, or bullet points or whatever. Like just almost a believability to the way they sound. I think that's why I'm such a big fan of CM Punk's promos. It sounds like he's just being Phil for the most part. And that, it's like, I actually like believe what he's saying because it actually sounds like it's him talking, not that he's just delivering a promo that was written for him.
I feel like that's more of a newer age CM Punk thing, because I think like even back in the day before he kind of really got to be himself more, I would say, between the AEW stuff and the late WWE stuff. Even back before that, I feel like he always was able to cut a good promo, even if it was like a wrestling promo, and I feel like there's a difference between what you're describing and what I'm describing, because you have your wrestling promos that CM Punk used to cut back in the day. And then you have your Phil Brooks CM Punk promos like you're describing, where it's like, hey, this is who I am. I don't care if you like me or not. I don't give a fuck, because I'm the best wrestler in the world. And I love my fans and yada, yada, yada. All the shit he's been doing in AEW and before. But
maybe I should reword it a little bit. When two people are like having a promo with each other, I want it to sound like that they are not just reciting scripts back.
No, I agree with you 100%. Yeah. And I wasn't even disagreeing with you on any points you made at all before. I was just saying that I was just bringing up a point that I think CM Punk was just always a good promo, no matter which style he's doing. And I think like how I was saying before is that there was many different styles and ways of doing it. I think that you kind of talking about the Phil Brooks style of CM Punk promo is just like, it's just one of those ways, but he still makes it so believable and so good. He's still such a good promo even today. I think it kind of just makes a point to both of our points, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, is that like, there's just all kinds of different styles, and whether you're doing it one way or the other way, if you're a good promo, you should be a good promo either way.
Yes.
No, it makes sense. And like I kind of look at a guy like honestly Cody Rhodes. I feel
Yeah.
like if there's someone that's come a long way, since he left WWE the last time, like who's improved more. And I know some of the promos he did in AEW when he was trying to be like the big baby face, like give the impassioned like speech, and like people called it corny and it never made sense to me.
Nope.
Why like the AEW fans at the time were like just rejecting all of it, because I feel like because he's doing the same kind of promos, maybe not like the last couple with Paul Heyman, but like prior with the whole like chase for the title that he's the story that they're telling now, like it's some of the same promos that he was doing in AEW and they're getting over here. Whereas like AEW, like, and maybe it was just that Jacksonville crowd mostly during the pandemic when they were there every week.
No, it was
But
all the crowds really, but
Yeah.
it did get there over time
I
towards the
I
end of
think
his
think
run. But
I
I just don't get what I mean. I know different fan base, but it's not making sense to me why people were just so against it at that time.
that's it's mostly because what you said, fan base. Like
mhm.
his promos feel like really good WWE promos,
Mhm.
not necessarily AEW.
Right. And where like I'm like, listen, I love MJF and his promos are very good, but it almost feels like that's what he has to do to cater to that audience.
Did
Is
you hear what happened with this recent promo? I'm sorry, I have to bring this
No,
up.
please cut it. Well, I knew it was something about like he was talking about like a car accident.
He
If that's what you're referring to.
basically making up a story. Well, no, the thing is, he didn't make up the story. How I guess he was drunk driving in his car with his prom date, or yeah, his prom date, and they hit a tree. And before the cops came, he switched seats with them because he knew it would fuck up his license or whatever. And that's fucking scary and fucking effective for a promo. That
You
Right.
he
think
would
you
get
think it's
that point
100%
across.
a true story though? You think he really did
Okay,
that?
you know how believable it was. There was at first the number was exaggerated, but it was still a lot of calls. They were saying like 500 police calls were made that night in regards to it. That's how
Yeah.
Like
believable he
no,
was.
no offense to those people calling, but like if
They,
you're talking about a 25 or whatever, what are you
I
talking
don't
about
understand it
a
either.
25-year-old kid talking about a prom night, which would have been 7 years prior. I
But
don't know.
apparent,
People are just hysterical.
but I guess there is truth to the story though. But which part? I heard it was like 80% true. But the fact that he was that believable of a
Right.
promo, yeah, I get it. I can't. Those
And
people
and
can't
I,
be.
and listen, I'm not trying to make any kind of comparison or anything to Cody about like, oh, one fan base. Well, shut one more. I just think it feels like that's what and you're trying to get heat. I get it, but it feels like that's the kind of promo you have to deliver to that audience. Like that's what
Yeah,
AEW
that
audience
wouldn't fly in
wants.
WWE, I don't think at
No,
all.
oh no,
Not at all.
it wouldn't get cleared at all.
No.
And
Maybe,
it's like,
maybe at best in 2002, 2003.
okay,
And
well,
We got
I
Katie
think there's
Vick. Come on.
yeah. I think there's a reason for that though. And I think it's because of the fact that AEW I feel caters to more of an adult audience than WWE does. It's almost like comparing it from like a WWE audience to like an old school ECW audience. And I'm not saying like like AEW I'm not saying they're the same because the ECW audience, that's a different audience altogether. But I'm
right.
saying like kind of in an apples to oranges kind of way, it's very similar because I feel like AEW fans, because they're mostly adults and they respect the good wrestlers over bad wrestlers and not so much the gimmicks.
Mhm.
um they want to cheer guys like MJF most of the time because a lot of
Right.
guys, a lot of people like him. Like a lot of people will buy into the kayfabe and boo him. Like, if we go to a show, we'll probably boo him. Like, even though
Right.
we all love the guy, but
Right.
like,
Yes.
you kayfabe buy in, you boo the guy, but at the end of the day, like they're still getting that pop when he first shows up. They're, oh, hey, oh wait, boo. That's what we got to do. Yeah, boo. So I think like in a way, guys like MJF, guys in AEW who cut these really dark promos like they've been doing, like Christian did with the Jungle Boy
Mhm.
angle, stuff like that. I think it's because like they're trying to get that extra heat. Like they want
Mhm.
to make that heat a little real for at least a second, even if it's only for like that night.
Mhm.
But they're trying to get that legit heat because they don't want these guys cheering for him. they're trying to do their jobs and make them boom, and they're trying to make them boom legitly.
Legitimately.
Legitimately. I was gonna correct myself, and then I was just like, no, I'm just gonna let it fly, and then Skylar did it. But anyway,
I'm a dick.
yeah. But yeah, I think like that's what a lot of that is when it comes to those darker style promos that you see on AEW, compared to WWE, where Cody Rhodes, again, the face promos aren't going over in AEW because they don't want the fucking John Cena type face. They don't want the fucking Superman, superhero fucking face.
True.
WWE, that's what they want that for the kids. Like as much as everybody, like, as loud as the boos got for John Cena during the points of his career, at the end of the day, he was still the top merch seller of the company. And why is that? Is because he's the biggest baby face in the company.
Sure.
So you want a guy like that in your company because parents are always going to buy merch for their kids, even if they don't like the wrestlers themselves, even if they're
Right.
not fans. Oh man, I can't stand John Cena, but my kid loves him. I got to buy a shirt.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So like it's that same thing where Cody Rhodes is going to fit in so much better on that style.
Correct.
True. Yeah, that's true. No, and it is a different audience. It's just, I don't know. It's just funny to me sometimes how, but like, I feel like a lot of the same people, and it's not just kids that are cheering on. And I guess, it's still a different audience, but even like some of the people, our age, same demographic that was booing the shit out of him in AEW is eating it up in WWE. Sometimes it's just strange. Sometimes the setting matters. I guess time makes a difference.
That I think that has to do with it as well too. It's like he had a little break, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
He comes back to WWE with a big fucking debut and a big deal, and he is a big deal. He wins the Royal Rumble a few months later after his big debut.
Right.
After a huge horrific injury. So like the whole time heals all wounds / just kind of natural laying storytelling, because at this point, like it's not even kayfabe gimmick story. This is just what happened. And for him to kind of have this redemption angle that he has right now, and for it to all kind of come around full circle compared to his first WWE run, and obviously Dusty passing and everything that happened in between, AEW, the jump to New Japan, everything that happened between here and now leads us to this, which is like the perfect redemption arc for any fucking WWE storyline. Like we've talked about the Bloodline being the best storyline that the WWE has run over the past 2 years. Well, what's probably the second best storyline? Probably the Cody Rhodes storyline, right? Like, I mean, the guy's literally coming back for his second stint in WWE after a horrific injury and after starting his own rival wrestling company, and he wants to win the world title. What's better than that?
Yeah. No, I agree.
100%.
I agree, and
he wants to win. He wants to win the title his daddy won. You know what I mean? And I mean, I know it's not the same. It's not the same belt. It's not the same title. But like to have the world championship for the biggest company in the world means a great deal to him. And it makes for great storytelling, in my opinion.
I thought the story is that neither Dusty nor Dustin were able to like win the top championship in the top company.
It is. I kind of misspoke. I meant the title that his daddy never won because his dad did win, obviously, the World Heavyweight Championship.
The NWA title, yeah.
Yes, but he never won any WWE World Championship, and neither did Dustin. So yes, that is the storyline. You're right. I think
it was also NWA pre WCW.
Was it?
Yeah. Well, it was I mean, did he win Big Gold or was it the NWA World title?
He never won Big Gold.
Yeah, so then it was the NWA title.
Yeah.
The one that I don't even know who has it now. Brodus Clay, whatever his name is.
Holy shit, is he really?
Tyrus.
Is he Trevor Murdoch?
Yep.
Yeah.
That is indeed what happened, and I guess he successfully defended against
NWA is rough. I'm not here to fucking cater to anybody. NWA is rough. If you look at like whatever like their main event, nothing against Matt Cardona, but the main event of the last pay-per-view was Matt Cardona versus Tyrus.
I thought they were kind of on an upswing too.
I
think they were at some point.
Like, wasn't like Magnus's run like going really good there for a while, and then Billy Corgan took over? What happened?
I mean, basically everyone left. They had Eli Drake. They had Ricky Starks. They had, I think, did MJF ever showed up there? No.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so.
Ricky Starks, though. Like a couple other names.
Yeah, and I know, I'm not here to cater to anything anymore. It's rough. It's a tough watch. Not that I watch, but tough watch.
I checked it out and
Yep.
This ain't it.
Yep.
Poor Billy.
He's got his pumpkins move.
I was gonna say he's got a bit of a fallback if this wrestling thing doesn't work out for him.
Yeah.
I guess so.
Ah, shit, I need more wrestling money. Start the tour.
It's not even like the same fucking band members anymore anyway. It's like,
actually, actually it is, except Darcy.
All of them?
The only one is there's not Darcy.
Wow, I'm surprised. Like, I would have thought Billy Corgan definitely would have been one of those guys that's had like 20 different fucking members of the band by now.
It took a while for that to happen.
What are you saying?
They did split up for a while and they got back together, is what you're saying?
The minus Darcy original lineup, like they must have reformed within like the past 3 to 5 years.
Okay, that makes sense.
What are you saying? What are you saying? He's like one step away from Gene Simmons, who they basically want to just like franchise out Kiss as like.
No, because Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley are literally the core of that band. So at least there's two of them. He seemed more of like the singer of Puddle of Mud to me.
No.
Where it's just like nobody can stand to be around him for more than a tour.
Yeah, but Billy Corgan doesn't go and.
I'm not saying the behavior. I'm saying the personality type. I'm saying like that kind of person where you're just like, all right, I played a tour with you and I made a bunch of money because I was in the Smashing Pumpkins, but like, fuck you, I'm leaving. Like, I felt like it was probably a lot of that going on.
That or see you next tour. Don't contact me until then.
Yeah.
Like, we're making how much? I'll put up with it.
Yeah.
Fine.
Meanwhile, the dude from Puddle of Mud, that's a whole nother fucking shit show story. So
boy, is it ever.
I mean, it's the like when you say that, like I know nothing of, like obviously I know of the band.
Oh, he's like
from high school, but
he's a major alcoholic. He gets into rants on stage. He's gotten into like fights with audience members.
He accused somebody of stealing his house in the middle of a set.
I think he was talking about his ex-wife.
Or something.
He stole my fucking house. He's like crying on stage about his ex-wife and shit.
Like, you're in the middle of playing a show and this is just some guy in the audience.
Yeah.
I think the 1975's got that going on. I've seen a couple videos making the rounds where like the singer's about to go into like a rant about something terrible and the rest of the band's like, no, we're not start. We're not getting our shit canceled because of you.
Goddamn.
Or you could watch Vince Neil concerts where he just leaves halfway through and lets the band finish the song, doing the backing vocals by themselves because he can't sing the song anymore. Those are always fun to watch.
And he hasn't been able to sing those songs in 25
He hasn't been able to sing those songs since they were recorded. Like, Vince Neil's not good. I'm sorry, like, not to shit on people right now, but Vince Neil's not good.
And we veered away into the music realm.
Yeah, well, I can't help it. That's part of my life. Have you checked out the Paperweight Project?
Nope. I gotcha. Anyway,
well, you should check it out on Instagram, YouTube, and SoundCloud.
Yes.
Well, we did all that.
Plug.
We
did a little butt plug.
We did all that to circle back to the butt plug.
It was a little butt plug.
Now, what do you think about promos when they shoot from the hip?
I mean,
if we're going to talk about Cody and the recent Paul Heyman Cody promo, for example,
if those are always still worked, you know what I mean? Those are work shoots. So
apparently,
if you can shoot, like, listen, because like
anything that's on WWE TV is a work shoot. It might have a lot of realism to it. I'm not saying that some of them aren't real. I'm just saying.
No, normally you are absolutely correct. I feel like I've heard this. No, Cody just
fired away.
Yeah.
Yeah, but everybody says that in the beginning, and then you find out 20 years later in an interview that they were both in on it and they're homeboys.
So basically, you're saying Hulk Hogan didn't actually walk out in the company with the WCW title, and Booker T won the title later that night.
I look, that's different. That company was falling apart.
I remember when that shit happened. That was fucking crazy.
The shoot, like the shoot stuff,
That was
That-
like
worked
that was
or
that was
not.
the Vince
that
Russo
actually-
shit, right?
That led to a
Yeah.
Vince Russo shoot.
That's what I'm
and
talking
that
about,
one was a
yeah.
little
No,
like,
that's
dude,
different because Vince
okay.
Russo's not a fucking good person, as we've kind of gone over many times on the show at this point. Like, of
This
course,
is true.
Vince Russo is going to go on TV and air his dirty laundry.
Right.
That's not to say because he's
Bro.
Vince Russo and he has the power to do so. However, that's also, you could say the same about Vince McMahon. A couple of Vinces. Vince McMahon did that too with Steve Austin when he buried him, and Steve Austin took his ball and went home. And did he need to do that? No, of course not. But like, that's just the boss flexing. That's not a promo. That's a boss flexing.
That having been said, pivoting slightly, Vince is a damn good promo.
Vince is a great promo. I love Vince.
I'm not
love
disagreeing with
Vince
what you're
promos.
saying. I'm just kind of pivoting, like,
But that's not the point. The point
Yes.
is that like he was cutting that promo for a reason. It's not because it was a work. That wasn't a work shoot. Of course, that was a real shoot. But that's because he's the boss and he can do that. Anybody else besides the boss, it's a work.
fair enough.
Shit, man. Half the wrestlers I know still believe that Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart was a work. Still to this day.
Sorry, but you say this as I kind of glance at my TV and it's Ric Flair doing a Car Shield commercial. And just like, I feel like even like some of these, even though it's a scripted commercial, Ric Flair still knows how to just deliver. Even shit like that.
Woo!
It's literally
That's all you need to do.
You summed
No,
up.
Slap your
you
chest
sum-
and say the woo. Do the thing. Rick, say the line. Woo? Yeah, the line.
say
Woo!
it. Say the line, Rick.
Dance monkey dance. Like that's what Ric Flair is now. He's just a dancing monkey at this point. He's just doing the same routine he's been doing for 40 years. But I mean, hey, if they're gonna still pay him for it, fuck, I'd be doing it too. Fuck it, sure.
Yeah, right.
You know I was famous 30 years ago, right? Okay, you still want me to do it? All right, cool, I'm in. Like, what are you gonna do?
I do want to say one funny thing. Speaking of Ric Flair commercial, if you ever get around to watching Southpaw Wrestling, he does the voiceover for the KFC chicken commercials, and it says at the bottom explicitly, "This is not Ric Flair, but it's fucking Ric Flair."
Very clearly, Ric Flair.
Yes,
Right.
very clearly. Plus, I think there was some endorsement deal at this time. Also, we still need to talk about Southpaw Wrestling at some point.
Oh yeah, I gotta do a binge watch.
I gotta
on that
watch
before we
it.
do it.
Yeah,
It's fantastic.
It is good.
I've watched like 2 episodes of it, and it was good. I just never finished it.
Yeah. No,
it's something you kind of
it's
got to
worth
be
the watch.
like. It's kind of something you have to binge, like each season.
Yeah,
I think there's only 2, but
It's a bunch of YouTube clips. You can do it quick.
yeah, they're all like 15 minutes long, right? Like it's nothing.
I think
Right.
like each season's like 45 minutes.
Yeah, no time at
Like,
all.
Could do that in an afternoon. I spent all day today watching Sopranos. I started rewatching Sopranos. I don't know
great.
why. I just wanted to rewatch it.
Because it's one of the best. Because it might be the
It
best
is
show
a
of
good
all
show.
time.
It is a good show. You're Italian, so you're a little biased, but it's a good show.
I don't care if I'm fucking like I could be the Russian guy in the Pine Barrens episode. I'm still
Dude, I just watched that episode. That was literally the last episode I watched was the
That's
Pine
really-
Barrens episode,
that's
which is
that's
one
really
of the
funny.
best episodes ever. It's like one of my favorites.
Is it the same episode where they're talking about the Cuban Missile Crisis? Like, oh, that shit was real.
Yeah. Chrissy's like that shit was real. No, Chris and Paulie together. Whenever Chris and Paulie are together for an extended period of time, those are the best episodes.
Oh, I know. No, it's not. It's the best. Yeah, no, it's always a show worth rewatching.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, it's best show ever. What the fuck are we just talking about? And The Sopranos came up. I just lose all track of what we were saying.
So, somehow this
promos.
originated from the Cody Rhodes and Paul Heyman promo.
Shooting from the hip.
Oh yeah, shooting from the hip. Okay.
But also, it was another thing I wanted to point out was how it was a great way to finally, because originally it was just, okay, Cody wins the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
It's his story to the championship. Okay, now you have the storyline after that promo.
Right. Well, and it's funny because obviously at that point it was like late January or whatever, I guess it was like 2 weeks ago, but still you're 2 months away from Mania. It's like you have to build this story somehow. How are you going to do it? Okay, throw Paul
While
Heyman out
building
there.
another story.
Right. And then like Sami Zayn sort of working his way in. I know Elimination Chamber is this weekend. I believe it's this weekend.
Yeah.
Because I do want to watch that. at least that one match. So
that
this
match is gonna.
it's gonna, and then they're gonna pull you up and they're gonna rip your heart out.
I was gonna
And
say
you know-
that it's gonna be 1, 2, stab you right in the heart.
Right,
Yep.
exactly. No,
100%, 100%.
that's no, and it's absolutely
or
gonna
they
happen.
try to, or they make him pass out or something. I don't know.
Right, but I'm making sure I watch it because like I want.
Same.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah, it's tomorrow. It's Saturday,
Oh shit.
February 18th.
Well,
You know,
not
I say okay. If you're listening to this on release day, it is tomorrow. But if you're listening to this after the fact, then it already happened.
You got
But
me
yeah,
all
no.
excited, and then I remembered it's Wednesday, and I was like, "What?"
No, it's Saturday, February 18th. So yeah, I'm excited to watch that. But also who knows, because like they sort of introduced Sami Zayn and Cody Rhodes as a bit of a possibility this past. Like I said, I didn't see the whole segment, but they at least did an introduction. Listen, I'm not saying anything.
This is why you're gonna get stabbed in the heart, Mike.
I know because
You're buying in already.
why is someone that's watched wrestling for like nearly 30 years falling for this? Like I know why I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't know
they're
why
doing it well. They're doing it. That's why, because they're doing it well.
Right. Like,
and that's the point. If you do it well, it gets to make suckers out of guys like us who have been so cynical for the last 20 years.
Like I feel like our big thing when we watch at this point, at least the last few years, has been like, ooh, they got me. Like,
yeah.
Like, ooh,
I love when I get got. Anytime I get got, I get excited because
Right.
I'm like, if I did not see that coming, if I didn't see this heel turn coming, if I didn't see this whatever angle or false finish, even you know, false finishes, whenever I get done with like a false finish, because that's hard to get me.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of times where I'm just like, oh, this is a good falsie. This is a good, 1, 2, kick out. Yeah, there it is. All right. Yeah, this is gonna be like 2 3/4. This is gonna be 2 7/8. But like when they actually get me, and the match I always keep bringing up, and I know I've talked about it a lot lately, I really got to go rewatch this match. Johnny Gargano versus Andrade Cien Almas. That match got me so many times where I was just like, this is the best match I've ever, like, I remember, I think saying while I was watching, I was like, this might be the best wrestling match I've ever seen in my fucking life.
Yep.
At the time I said like, that was like a historic match at that point. That was just fucking brilliant.
And the other one being, I'm sorry, just the other one obviously being probably my actual favorite match of all time, at least until I've rewatched this fucking Gargano Almas match. Because I'm definitely gonna just rewatch and I gotta make sure. But for number one for now, obviously, is still Michaels Taker 1 at WrestleMania. I mean, that one in itself, like, how many times did I actually like, and I knew I was like, there's no way Shawn Michaels is not breaking the streak. It makes no sense. Why would you give it to Shawn Michaels? But there was just so many times in that match where I was like, oh my God.
You see, because I'm sitting here with this Sami Zayn shit, like not not falling for it, but like there's this doubt. And it was the same shit with that. Like, okay, let's like Taker streak, like, okay, it's gonna be intact, but you can't help it. And that's the best part. That's almost as good. And this is where, like, sometimes if guys aren't as good, if guys aren't a good promo, they kind of get knocked down a notch. And I know in the grand scheme of things, you need good promo skills, especially if you're going to be the champion, if you're going to be a top guy. But if you can just at some point, there's an exception. Like, if you can get people like in that Gargano Andrade match, then you got yourself a spot at some point if you can do that to people well enough, and that can be like your overall skill. But I think for me, the last, like, the most recent like getting got, it was probably like the Bloodline story. Just I haven't been like, what is happening at a story in the longest time, but probably Brock Lesnar just lifting the fucking ring at SummerSlam last year.
Yeah,
as far as like just the coolest. I'm just like, oh, what's he gonna do with this? He gonna jump off it? Oh my God, he lifted the ring.
That match was, I still think, incredible. I loved it. And I know, like, they talked a lot about, Roman and Brock. They've had a few matches now where it's like, some are good, some are bad.
Mania was bad, but SummerSlam made up for it.
That one was the best.
The best one. I still think their very first match is.
You think so?
The one, I mean, yes, Seth cashes in at the end, but that made it more historic.
I mean, that is a WrestleMania main event, so of course that kind of is expected to be
but
a
it happened
big
more.
match.
But the second time, it was utter dog shit.
No, I agree. I agree. They weren't like I'm saying, like some
But
were bad.
the first one, nobody had like really high expectations for, and it turned out to be fucking awesome.
But I think for this, excuse me, I think
But
for this last
exercise,
one, this last one, I think it was kind of the opposite. I think like expectations were not that they were low, but like people were kind of like, okay, we've seen some good, we've seen some bad. Like, what are we gonna get this time? And for it to come out and have the banger that they did on that last one, I think like definitely brought a lot of our hopes kind of back up.
Right.
When it comes to Brock Lesnar Roman Reigns matches.
Yeah.
Anyway, because I'm sure it's not going to be the last time.
I don't know. I think at this point, with the way each of their careers are going,
never say never.
Yeah, I guess. But
I'm telling you now, when they're both probably close, at least Brock especially, to being on the way out. But like rumor has it, Roman doesn't have too many years left either, where he wants to kind of be out too. But so like if they're both on the way out, they're going to meet one more time before whoever leaves first leaves. I'm telling you, it has to happen.
Yeah.
Probably.
These two are like Rock and Austin at this point. They're the two biggest stars the company's had in the last fucking 15 years.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I think, see, my feeling, if I was fantasy booking, they would get the fucking one of the WWE title off of Roman while keeping him the Universal title. Keep him on this part-time schedule so it's more sporadic and he doesn't have to wrestle as much, and let him break Bruno Sammartino's record with the Universal title. He doesn't have to wrestle that much.
Bruno's record like 10 years? Like Bruno's record is something ridiculous.
7
years? Do you want Roman to hold the belt for another 5 years?
Sure.
If you have the other world title.
Yeah, I know Mike's on board. Yeah.
Because it's like
you think that'll work in today's day and age though?
Yeah.
An 8-year title run?
If you split the titles, yes, because you're already having, I would say, especially in the Triple H era, you're already seeing like I would say successful pay-per-views without a world title match, without Roman Reigns, or I guess I say Triple H, but even when Brock Lesnar was on top and he wouldn't wrestle at every pay-per-view, I still feel like you had decent events with what they had, and it's even better now. I just think like you have the guys that can have a main event match. Like you pretty much got through the spring with Seth and Cody, and you didn't have a world title match. I think from between WrestleMania and honestly SummerSlam. I can't remember Roman defending the belt, at least on a pay-per-view. I can't remember. So I feel like you could find a way to just do it again now.
Yeah, but I don't know if Roman wants to go for 7 more years. Like I said, I think he's already
and he might
find his way out.
If that's the case, I'm just saying like take that part of it out. You're already in it. Like you're already in it with this long reign, so it's almost like if you just kept the shit going.
Okay.
Like
if you're not going to go for the Sammartino record, which that is out there, split the titles, have him keep the Universal title until at a minimum WrestleMania 40 when they can finally get Dwayne.
So Bruno Sammartino, it says his longest title reign was 2,803 days. So Roman is at like 900 days, give or take. So
it's a lot more days, man.
Yeah.
That's probably another amount of more days.
That's probably another 6 years. So he'd have to get to, what are we at? Is this Mania 39? Right, this year, or 38?
I don't even know.
No, this is 39.
Because they stopped putting the fucking numbers on the WrestleMania. It's throwing me.
Annoying.
It's throwing me off. Just call it WrestleMania. Insert number here. So we're coming up to 30. We're coming up to 39. So Roman would have to have it to like Mania 45. Which sounds crazy, but
you laugh as soon as you hear it yourself.
Braun Breaker can beat Roman at WrestleMania 45 and the longest title run. I don't know, man. I'm just
no, Braun Breaker's doing that well before then.
Of course, I'm just like I can't think of anyone else who would be, or or Brock Lesnar can win the title in 2029. I don't know.
It's
Well,
believable.
Brock broke Taker's streak, so why not have Brock break the longest title run streak?
God damn it! Look, the point is split the belts, okay?
I'm with you on that. At this point, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the plan is.
It's like our thing. Like we just talk about this every week. I feel like
We do.
the belts.
We do until it's not. It's gonna be. It's been 80. It's been 84 years. Split the belts already.
I mean, it's either split them or actually unite them and have one actual physical title.
Well, that too.
One or the other. Make up your mind.
Well, I feel like Cody would be the one to do it. Just bring back the Winged Eagle or something, like he did for that. Like he did for the IC title.
Please bring the Winged Eagle
Big
back.
Gold.
Nah, I think Big Gold is retired.
I think they have to be done with Big Gold.
I think Big Gold went away with Rick
because like you haven't. All
I'm saying is that I feel like if there was any title for Cody to bring back, it'd be Big Gold because of Dusty's time in WCW that he never got the championship.
It does make sense.
Dusty was in WCW a lot longer than he was in WWE. Well,
this is true
until WCW collapsed, and then obviously Dusty was with WWE for a long time. But
exactly, but I'm just like, man, because like the Winged Eagle is like the one belt that I feel like hasn't been like there hasn't been like a callback to that ever. Like I feel like Big Gold's like made its comeback, and the old IC title made its comeback. That belt was so cool.
I love the Winged Eagle belt, so I would be thrilled if they brought that back personally.
I don't know what they called the belt, the one after it, where it was just like, it was like not Big Gold, but it had like, they just had the big circle on it. Like I can't remember what they called that one. Like Austin,
like around 2000.
No, like 90. Austin was the first one they gave it to, because Austin won the Winged Eagle and they switched the belt like after he won it.
Oh, it was like more round.
Yeah, I don't know what they called that one.
Yeah, that's the one, honestly, for the longest time I was most familiar with.
Yeah, because it was pretty much Austin and Rock held that.
Didn't that also have an eagle on it, though?
And Triple H.
I think it did. Oh, yeah,
it's like
it's the same thing, but the wings weren't as big. That's all it was.
Yes.
True.
It was the same title. It was the same title design. It was an eagle standing over a globe.
True.
Yeah.
They were both the same. It's just one was small, one had a smaller center plate.
Yes.
That was the only difference.
Okay, that's true.
And the wings protruding out.
Yeah.
Because of the smaller center plate. Because the center plate,
that's true.
The main one had the wings tipping out of the circle. The other one just had the eagle in the circle.
That's true. Are we ever
the same design?
I guess let me try and circle back to promos a little bit, because we keep branching off because we're talking about shooting from the hip.
But hey, that's what happens when you talk about shooting from the hip. You start shooting from the hip on other things.
This is true.
What about Paul Heyman at One Night Stand? Talking about shooting from the hip.
I mean, it was.
I still feel like it's a work shoot, but
I think
it was a pretty good one.
I think a lot of those guys were in on it. I don't know. I think
JBL spitting his drink right as he said his fucking line, or Edge, one of them spit their drink like right as he said.
Oh yeah, no, of course. Like the whole like Triple H doesn't want to work Tuesdays line. Like, it's all funny and like obviously it's like it was popping in that crowd.
Edge, I have 2 words for you: Matt freaking Hardy.
That's what it was, and then Edge spits his fucking drink.
And then Edge went. That's 3. That's 3 words.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, like if guys are good at it, like, and on it, you know what? I think you saw this issue with a few guys when they went to AEW from WWE, because when you had guys that were in the WWE system and everything was scripted for them, and that's how they learned. And then when they went to AEW and they were like, "All right, here you go," and like a lot of guys, maybe like I'll even say like maybe like Adam Cole probably struggled a little bit with promos at first, and then he might have been like, "Oh wait, I remember how to do this," and like he was fine. But there were a few guys, I think, when they went to AEW and with the difference in how they did creative and the more free flowing promos, I think guys struggled with that. But
I think people needed to kind of calm down on the word shit.
Yeah.
Also, carny piece of shit was a thing for too long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But other than that, agreed.
And also and because my whole point was not that like, and because like right when you just say like shit nonstop or just try and throw like swear words into your promos to get like some kind of like, you know, some kind of reaction, it just doesn't work after a while. It doesn't mean anything. It's like,
it's not like in Japan where the audience is Japanese anyway. Go ahead and curse. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just how they talk in Japan because they don't have to worry about the censor, so they can just like they could say what they want.
Right. Like seemingly
which
any
is why I
Jay White
don't.
promo.
Which is
I
why
don't think
I don't
they're
know
not
how
doing
well.
that in Japan for shock factor is basically the point. Like in like how you're saying, like here it's all for to get that reaction from the crowd. That's why they're saying shit or whatever. Piece of
Right,
shit.
because when you say any naughty word in this country, it's met with horror. But we can show dead bodies on the news, but you better apologize for saying shit.
Specifically,
like
shit,
that.
piss, fuck, cunt, cocksucker, motherfucker,
Right, exactly.
tits, fart, turd, and twat.
And don't get me started if a nipple shows up on TV.
Do not get him started. Nice.
Come on, titty.
Come on, titty.
You're welcome.
Should reference on the bingo card there.
You're welcome. But and then it's like to my point where like sometimes it's tougher for like a comedian to tell like clean jokes versus just like telling dirty jokes and cursing nonstop. I feel like there's an art to that as far as like promos go too. Like
I do want to point out that this will make it would make. This is why I find it hard to believe Jay White will go to WWE.
Well, right.
He can clean that up.
Maybe.
I don't think that there's any wrestler on that's in that top guy spot, especially for any company, whether it's New Japan, whether it's AEW, whether it's GCW. I don't think there's any guy that's in that top spot that can cut a believable promo, with the exception of maybe Nick Gage, that can cut like a curse-filled promo that wouldn't be able to cut like the same impassioned promo without cursing. Like I just don't.
John Moxley's
on AEW. He doesn't curse. He's not
Yeah,
saying
he does.
fuck not on TV. He's not saying fuck on TV. And when he does, it's once in a while and it gets bleeped out because the guys in the back already know about it. Because he tells them and he says, "Hey, I'm gonna say fuck on TV. Be ready with the fucking censor button."
All right, fair enough.
It's different.
Rick Ross.
I was just gonna say that, and I'm like, I'll listen to Rick Ross call Keith Lee big motherfucker every week if I have to.
This is where just like
Rick Ross isn't a wrestler, man. Like Rick Ross is just being Rick Ross.
Accusations.
But this is where people like drive me fucking nuts. Like, can't hope Rick Ross isn't on TV again. It's like, bro, why? Like, it was fine. Like, there's so like. No offense, but some of these celebrities that do anything in wrestling are sometimes better than half the fucking roster. Like,
I want to see more Action Bronson. Fuck Rick Ross. Let's get Action Bronson back on TV.
Hell yeah.
But it's that's my point. It's like sometimes these like everyone's like, wow, Logan Paul, bro. Logan Paul's in the fucking top 10% of like wrestlers instantly. Like
that dude can fucking go.
But it's like people get so fucking mad.
All right, here's this might be a hot take. To me, on Logan Paul, the jury is still very much out because we haven't really seen him wrestle like real wrestling matches. We've seen him have these big spectacle matches where he has like a bunch of high spots and stuff like that.
And that's all you're probably going to see.
Exactly. I would love to see before we could say Logan Paul is the top 10, before we could say Logan Paul is as good as everybody on the internet saying he is. I think we need to see Logan Paul do an angle, do a whole storyline, have a series of matches with some guys, wrestling matches. And yeah, they can still have the high spots and still have all the stuff in it. But like, we need to see a whole program run with this kid before we start really saying he's.
Well, I mean,
he's athletic. He's athletic.
Maybe,
and he understands.
Right, I'll say
about with the Miz.
Fine. I'll say as a draw. Maybe not.
I love the Miz, so I'll watch the Miz with anybody.
Well, he
maybe not
debuted
as
by teaming with the Miz and then feuded with the Miz.
I know. Yeah. I mean, yeah. But you're talking about like what about that angle? Like, yeah. There was like two, three matches. Like they didn't have like
the problem is if Logan Paul is only going to come in for Rumble, like if he's only going to come in for like the big events.
If he's only coming in for big events, then
he's coming in to face John Cena. Oh no.
Seth Rollins.
John Cena's facing Theory.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, Seth Rollins will be a test. I mean, and it'll be a good match just because like
Yeah.
I mean,
I'd be interested in seeing those promos.
Seth Rollins is wrestle a broomstick or blow up doll, and it's 5 stars status. So
yeah,
He's
No,
not Kenny
but-
Omega.
Seth Rollins can do anything Kenny Omega can do.
right.
And there's that might be a hot take, and there might be a lot of people that disagree with me on that. But like, if people have talked about how Kenny Omega has consistently been the best wrestler in the world for the past few years, he's always like on the top of the lists and shit like that. Not that any of those things mean anything, but at least before AEW, when he was in Japan, especially, he was considered the best in the world. All right, we'll
Yes.
put it that way.
I was gonna say,
Um,
I feel like he hasn't been as good as he's been since he left Japan.
Yeah, but he's also been hurt for a long
There's a
time.
million
as
injuries,
we
yeah.
found out.
Yes.
But beyond that, like his time in Japan, where everybody was raving about how he's the number one in the world. Like, watching his matches and watching for Seth Rollins for as long as I have, I always felt that like Seth Rollins can do anything Kenny Omega's doing, and Seth Rollins is, in my opinion, Seth Rollins has been the best working, like you're the best worker in the world. I'll put it that way, because the dude, his career hasn't stopped since he started. He's been a top player in the WWE for like 10 years now, almost. And he puts on phenomenal matches with everybody he wrestles. So like, everybody says the same shit about Kenny Omega. Yeah, Kenny Omega is one of the best in the world. I'll give him that. But like, people don't give Seth Rollins, I think, the respect he deserves because he's a WWE guy most of the time.
Fair.
I can see that. Yeah. Because he is like the complete package.
Yeah.
Is there anyone?
He's been a face, he's been a heel, he's gone back and forth, and he's done great.
He's done both at the
storylines
same
and
time.
He's done both at the same time, but he's always done like great stories and great work while he's been running through those. So what can you say? I mean,
speaking of great stories and great promos from Seth Rollins, I went back and watched some of the stuff from when he feuded with Roman. It was like kind of in the beginning of the Bloodline thing.
Yeah, last year.
Was it 2021? Yes.
It was like the Rumble last year.
2020. Yeah, 2022. Yeah, and I watched some of the promos leading up to that, and fucking Seth was doing amazing like psychological work and
Yeah.
just the way Roman reacted, and then the match itself, he comes out and doing the Shield entrance and gear.
And we've seen him do everything. Like, when you think about it, look back at his career now. And like, I think I've mentioned this on the show before, and like the example that I usually bring up is Kane when it comes to longevity in wrestling. But like, look what Seth Rollins has done with his character. He comes in as part of the Shield, as we know, the most dominant faction that we've seen in our generation of wrestling, I think, since teams like the Four Horsemen and stuff like that existed. Shield comes in, they literally run roughshod over the fucking roster for almost 2 years, and then they break up. And what happens? Seth becomes a world champion. Seth continues to have all these great angles with everybody as he's becoming the top player that he's going to be for the next 10 years. And then his gimmick changes. He goes from face to heel. He goes from heel to face a few times. But like, he always made these changes to his character that kind of justified that and made differences in the character. So he's played like the whiny crybaby heel. He's played the snaky heel with the Authority, where he's never really doing any of the work. He's just always kind of snaking out of shit because of J&J and all that stuff. And then you have like all the way up to today, you got the Seth freaking Rollins stuff, where he's kind of like almost doing like a Joker-esque character of himself, where like he's kind of like, I'm not saying he's being the Joker. I'm saying like, if you were to take like the Joker and Seth Rollins and kind of combine the two into what he's doing now, that's kind of where he's going, where he's kind of like, hey, he's always laughing and he's always kind of being more on the psychological edge of things. And, that's not where he was 10 years ago, obviously, but to see him progress to that to now just talks about the longevity that he has been going for him in WWE. The fact that he's been a top guy through all of that and been relevant through all of that and all those changes just shows you what kind of a worker he is.
Who is there someone out there that maybe doesn't get the recognition for promo work that they should, that you can think of?
For
Like,
promo work?
Like, they're good enough and they've done it for a long time. I'm trying to think like if there's anybody out there that it might be like me. Like, I don't want to say like Randy Orton, because I don't, but like,
No, I
I
don't
feel
think
like
Randy Orton's underrated.
no, not underrated with that, especially like promos and stuff. Like we've seen what he's done in 20 years,
Yeah.
which is
And
insane to think
I
about.
love Randy Orton. I think Randy Orton's great, but I also think it took him a while to get there. So
Yeah.
I think he might have been underappreciated at one point in his career because
Right.
it did take him a little bit to get there. But I think a lot of fans understand now that Randy Orton's one of the best of all time.
Yeah. Just trying to figure
as for
out.
now, a good promo now. Ooh, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to.
I feel like people are. I feel like people are
The ones who
obviously
are good usually
realizing.
get the recognition.
I know. I feel like I think people are like not starting to see, but like people are like, oh yeah, LA Knight. Like I feel like people knew, but I think now finally.
Actually, I will say, and I don't think it's just a promo. I think it's just overall. I think one of the most underrated people in wrestling has been Christian. I will say that. I feel like people don't get excited for Christian as they should. Like the internet lost its mind when Tony said like we got a Hall of Fame event caliber player coming in, and then they bring out Christian, and the internet I remember lost its mind. Like this is the guy we're supposed to get hyped about. We thought he was talking about whoever.
Well, but you're also right. You're also going to the internet's.
No,
I guess this isn't one where I can't say they were promised certain people, because when you say, oh, it's the biggest side, blah blah blah,
yeah,
like fine, it's not like it's not like, hey, Jay White's going to be at the Rumble, LOL. Why didn't?
But like people were shitting on it immediately though over the Christian thing. They're like, oh, this is the guy. Okay, all right, it's just Christian Cage.
I don't
Who
think
cares?
I don't
like,
think it
I
was.
pumped.
I don't. No, and
I was like, Christian's awesome.
It wasn't Christian. And I think that was one of Tony Khan's faults early on, was he tried to hype everything bigger than it had to be. Like it's like, I don't know, like you're trying to.
I mean, it's fair if Tony didn't hype it up so much and just let Christian come out
exactly
like under a mysterious pop kind of thing, like he just shows up, like
because like I feel like the way AEW did Sting's debut was perfect. You're just watching the show and all of a sudden like, oh fuck, it's like Sting's on TV.
It's Sting.
Thank you. But like it's right. It's like if you do that and everyone's gonna be like, oh fuck. Or even how AEW got, Cole and Bryan Danielson on in the same night at the pay-per-view. It's like sometimes you don't have to, maybe now they should hype something up. I feel like
I loved how, speaking of Cole, like it just reminded me of this debut, which I thought was awesome when Cole debuted in NXT and Red Dragon showed up and that's how the UE started. I thought that was one of the best well done debuts in a long time.
That was good. Who did they? I'm forgetting.
Kicked the shit out of somebody. I don't remember.
Like Bobby Roode or something.
Drew McIntyre.
Drew McIntyre was a champ. Yeah.
I can't believe when Drew
right
McIntyre
after he won it.
It seems crazy when McIntyre came back, and I was like, "Why is Drew McIntyre back? Like who?" And now it's like he's like the big, like
I was excited for Drew McIntyre because I'd seen what he had been kind of doing on the Indies and stuff like that,
like an Impact.
Yeah, and I kind of just felt like this dude is a lot more ready now than he was when he left, for sure.
He busted his ass to like.
I mean, the dude gained like 30 pounds in muscle alone. And then not only that, but like he learned how to fucking talk right. He learned how to do his entrances right. He learned how to pose for the crowd right and get the crowd
realized how
him.
badass he looks with a beard.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
Right. It's just one of those like, oh, he matured. He's not 19 anymore.
Yeah.
He's not a 19-year-old like a rookie at this point.
No, but I was a fan of bringing Drew back for sure.
No, I mean, obviously now I'm like, oh shit,
Yeah.
But
I thought he was going to come back as Drew Galloway, but
why would WWE do that? They already own the rights to the fucking McIntyre name.
But they don't play the music.
He's got new music now. It's better. He's got better.
I know, but a lot of people joke around. They want to hear whatever that old music he had back.
Well, they played it for like his promo.
Yeah,
it was good, but yeah, it did its job. They played it for that promo video in Wales when he went against Roman Reigns, and they got the job done.
The only other
all
time
WWE music gets recycled eventually anyway. I mean, fucking Tyrus's fucking song was Flash Funk's old team.
This is true.
Yep.
Wasn't it also Felix? Wasn't it also Felix the Cat Miller?
It might have been. I think that thing was
Ernest the Cat Miller.
Ernest the Cat.
Felix the Cat Miller. I like better. I like Felix the Cat Miller.
I like that better too.
Also, Kurt Angle's theme was the Patriots' original theme.
Yep.
This is also true.
So they recycle music all the time. So the next time they get a Scottish wrestler, that music will come back.
Yes.
Who's it going to be? I don't know.
Next Irish wrestler gets Sheamus's old music.
Exactly. That's how it works. Yeah. Or Finley's. Finley's. You could get Finley's. Finley's is a little more Irish.
What were the lyrics to that Sheamus song?
He would know.
I don't remember. I don't even know. I remember hold on. I remember one part actually. It went like this. Whoa! I remember that one. So like there's an O in there.
There you go. All right.
the letter O. You heard it here first.
I remember people like the beginning was like, it's a shameful thing. Lobster head.
Lobster head.
Like the people were just making shit up. Like, oh, it kind of sounds like that.
My favorite Sheamus moment is when he met his cousin Beaker.
Nah. Tell the family I won't be able to make the family reunion.
Yeah.
That was a good one. That's a good joke.
No, that actually was pretty funny at the time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Plus I'm a huge Muppets mark, so
yeah, right. I mean, who's right? It's just funny anyway. Like
I'm a huge Beaker mark, actually. I love Dr. Benson and Beaker was one of my favorite skits from the old Muppet shows. I love the original Muppet Show. I think the Muppet Show is one of the best shows ever.
Muppets 3D at Hollywood Studios and Disney still holds up, and that show is like probably 25, 30 years old at this point.
That's crazy.
And it holds up. It's still like worth popping in and seeing every single time if you're there.
How could you not like the Muppets?
Right. Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to think of what else I wanted to talk about. We keep saying shoot from the hip, and I keep forgetting to make my point of some people suck at it. Oh, let me say this is aside from Mick Foley with the cheap pop, is it corny what on either direction when you either like cater to the city if you're a face, or just like shit on it if you're a heel just to get like the cheap pop or the cheap heat? Like, is it kind of corny and played out, or like, because I feel like there's sort of a place for it. Like, I know.
Yeah, I agree.
I have a counter question.
Like I feel like whatever the week it was, like Paul Heyman did it well because he like told Philly like, oh, like Brock Purdy's gonna come in here and beat the Eagles, or like it made sense with the promo, but like it was such a small percentage just to get. I think it was to shut the people up because they were chanting ECW, so it had its purpose because they were in Philly.
And Paul's good at that because he knows he's going to get that ovation in Philly, and he knows that he's beloved in Philly. So again, it kind of goes back to what I was saying with the promos in AEW, where you need to get that legitimate heat for a minute. So what's the way to do that? Shit on their fucking sports team.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
On the spectrum of cheap pop to cheap heat to acknowledging. Well, actually, where does "acknowledge me" fall in that spectrum?
That's different. That's a tagline. That's like if you smell. That's like glass.
Yeah, but he says the name of the town that they're in. Acknowledge me.
I think,
and The Rock did the same thing with if you smell. He would start it finally. Yeah, finally.
I think
Rock has. It's the same shit.
Right. Okay.
I think my thing.
I think that's a tagline. It's a little different
because the promo doesn't center around that. He does it, and then he's done mentioning it. Whereas like some guys are just like, okay, I'm gonna sit here and I'm like, I'll be honest, like it was not the first time, but honestly, like when AEW was in Long Island and CM Punk spent like 15 minutes just like shitting on the Islanders, and it was like, all right, like, do you have anything else? Like
that's just CM Punk really being a hockey nerd more than anything because he just
major Penguins guy
and
Blackhawks
or Blackhawks,
dude. Yeah,
why'd I say Penguins? Blackhawks.
But no, and I understand it, and like I understand like and CM Punk was probably going to get that like Shawn Michaels Canada heat only in Long Island.
I was just about to say because also the whole MJF Long Island thing where it's like
I think that was on purpose.
There.
No, it was, and obviously like
I love how that's still a thing in wrestling. By the way, when you get the Bizarro crowd, the Bizarro crowds are the best. When you got those ones that like they love the fucking biggest heel in the company, out Long Island, MJF, anywhere in Canada, Bret Hart back in the day,
right?
Yeah, like when you have those, like when you have those crowds that are just behind you, like even though you're obviously the shit kicker heel, or they just root against you even though you're the over babyface everywhere else in the country. I love those
Right.
crowds. Those are like
No,
the
so
most
do
fun
I. No,
crowds.
and it's great, but like, and it's probably a bad example because but it was one of those where, but when someone's not CM Punk and they spend 10 minutes just like ripping on the city, you're like okay, like is it that's more my thing. Like, is it corny? Does it not work, but guys continue to do it? Like, it's
I think
almost
it has
like
its time and place.
true, and like I think it to the extreme of like I know John Cena said in interviews like when he first came in, like before the rap gimmick, he said every single city he was buying like trunks and boots and and elbow and knee pads to like match like the city's like sports team color or whatever. So he said he has like hundreds of pairs of like boots and stuff in like a closet
Didn't he
Yeah.
that he
come out in a
spent
lot of like football jerseys too?
that
Well, when he was doing the rap
when
shit,
he was
yeah.
doing the rap thing, but
Okay.
no, but like when he was in that first run, like after he went against like Kurt Angle and like debuted and whatnot,
Mhm.
like it was like that era, like the era that he sucked. That like literally every like house show he would like,
He had
like,
those
oh
biker shorts and boots, and that was all he
yes,
wore. But like he had like every different color because he would always wear the
because
local sports team
that
colors.
was his right, that was his like baby face thing to like cater to the town or whatever he
My
did.
favorite was when CM Punk wore the Yankee pinstripes in Boston. As much as I'm a Red Sox fan, but I thought
Right,
that was fucking awesome when he did that. I
right,
was just like, all right, I see what
right,
you're
and
not even a Yankees fan and you're doing that. All right,
right,
cool.
and it, no, and right, and it definitely works. But I don't know, sometimes, but like shit like that, I think can get old. Like it can get old real fast. Like if that's your whole thing, it's like, like again, you got anything else? But
I agree
it's
with you
tough.
there. It definitely like when I say it has its time and place, like I think I'm kind of with you in the same point where it's just like there's reasons for it, especially in instances like Paul Heyman where he's like he has to kind of get control of the show back. But then there's other reasons for it too, where it's just like, all right, it kind of makes sense. Maybe there's something going on like at that current moment
Right,
that kind of makes sense. Like, the Eagles being in the playoffs,
right,
Paul Heyman taking a chance to shit on him or whatever. Like say, CM Punk being a Blackhawks fan, if maybe they were playing the Islanders that weekend or
right,
something like that, it gives them more of a reason to kind of shit on them a little more. But like stuff like that kind of like it goes into like okay territory for a while, but like when you step over is like a bad like it's a bad way of putting it because it's not like you're doing anything bad. It's just there's definitely a point where it's just like if this is all you came out to talk about and just shit on the crowd just to get a bunch of boos, then what's the point?
right,
And I
right.
agree with you there too. But I just I don't see a problem with it for the most part. Like if you want to just throw in a cheap fucking just a
True.
cheap shot and move on. You know what I mean? Like for the most part, like that doesn't really bother me.
Understandable.
And the faces doing the same thing because like that's their job. They got to get over too. So like for them to come out and kind of give like a shout out to the home team or like to the local fucking store that's in town that everybody knows or whatever, if everybody's favorite restaurant or some shit like that. You want to throw something like that out to
Mhm.
kind of be like, hey, I have a connection to your city
Right,
to get those cheers. I don't see nothing wrong with that either. It's just, but again, if you're going to come out and just be like, I was just walking down the lovely streets here and I got to go into mom and pop's coffee shop and I got to go to your local neighborhood park down the street and I got to go meet the mayor who's an awesome guy. Like shut up. You're a wrestler. Like we get
right.
it. You're in a city. Like just move on.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. Like, it's funny how like promos evolve, but have like I feel like like obviously promos have evolved, but like in theory, it's been the same thing for 40 years. No, you look at some of Ric Flair's promos from like the 80s and stuff with the Horsemen. If he went and did that in 2023, I think you'd get the same reaction. I don't necessarily think a lot of that stuff has gotten old. I think that's one constant with promos is you can do a lot of the same cadence and a lot of the same
If it ain't
like
broke, don't fix it.
yeah,
Exactly.
like obviously
If
like
it ain't broke, don't
there's
fix it.
different styles, there's different types now, like obviously like the evolution of it versus it being like an interview style versus like here just go to the ring and talk. But like
Yeah.
I mean I kind of go back to that Ric Flair stuff because that was really the first era him and
Even
Dusty Rhodes of having those big promos like that.
all of it's been around forever when you think about it. Because I mean,
Sure.
like the in-ring stuff, the interview stuff, that's all the interview stuff was huge back in the day. There was probably more interview stuff than anything else because they used to have guys go ringside and just like get these guys interviewed like post match, like they'd be bleeding. They just got cheated out of the world championship, and now some dude's got a mic in his face, and it's like almost like that sports sideline kind of interview type of promo, but like, you know, it's not supposed, those aren't supposed to feel like promos. Those are supposed to feel like real life moments in an athlete's life, like how it does, like when, you know, like after the Super Bowl, when they go interview Mahomes on the field, or they go talk to, you know, Andy Reid or whatever. It's like, those are real life moments. And that's what they want that to feel like.
That's true.
And you still see a lot of that today, not as much as like the immediate aftermath interview style, but you still see a lot of the same interview type stuff today. You saw it with Mean Gene in the WWF back in the 80s and
WCW
90s.
did it really well.
WCW did it absolutely really well. They WCW used Mean Gene everywhere, and he was great in WCW. He was just as good as WCW as WWF. You know, that guy has a Hall of Fame career because of everything he did. It's not just his work in WWF. But and you still see it today. Now today, what you see is there's usually a bevy of faces doing interviews. It's not just one guy being the star of interviews like it was back in the day with Mean Gene or whoever was doing them. Now you have, you know, usually a male or two and then a female or two backstage, and they're both kind of going back and forth. And I think that's just a way of getting more people on camera and stuff like that, and that's cool. But the style never went away. The interviews are all still there, and you still have the in-ring promos, and you still have you still even have the backstage the stage stuff where it's just like, you know, somebody gets attacked, or you catch like a glimpse in the dressing room that like maybe like it's not supposed to look like a camera's in there for, although why would a camera not be in there for, and why would these people not know that there's a camera while they're having this private conversation about how they're going to go jump Triple H in the parking lot later? Like, you know, that shit never made any. Those are the ones that have always bothered me because they just make no sense. It's just like, all right, nobody's here. No, nobody's here. Okay, cool.
Also, were you as a wrestler taught how to properly watch a TV screen?
No, I missed that class, but
Shit.
I think I've seen enough to get it. It's, you have to be at like a 45-degree angle, and you have to make sure you can't just have your profile on camera. You have to have your whole face on camera while you're watching the TV over here at a 45-degree angle. That's that's the trick. I have it down.
Learned. Okay, good. You've learned. Down. Good.
Because you don't want the camera to just catch your profile. It looks too awkward. So you got to make sure you got your whole face and the TV at a weird angle that nobody would naturally watch ever in the history of ever watching TV.
All right, good.
That's the way. That's the way wrestlers watch TV.
All right,
I do that at home. I do that at home now. I just turn my TV on. I don't sit down on my nice comfy couch. I just stand over by the window.
Gazing off into the distance.
Speaking like a true dad, that's not a dad.
Yep.
Dad's like, I can't. Dads are like, I can't. All right, I can't commit to watching this, and then you just half sit, and then you fall asleep watching it. That's the stages.
So yeah, I don't have any of those problems.
Oh man. I mean, anything else on promos? I mean, I feel like we rambled on a lot, but I think we got our
just here. I want to say, ask something. I know we're not doing this whole fucking big list thing, but like, can you guys talk about or figure out if you did have to pick your favorite of all time? What do you think it would be? I think Skylar, because I know what Royal Rumble's your favorite, I always envisioned that Ric Flair promo being your favorite. But if it's not, please.
No.
What? All right. Well, then I don't know what I'm going to be listening to, but I mean, there's a lot of good examples.
I mean, I look at certain things, like I mentioned, and it's not that they're my favorites, but just like, honestly, certain shit like Ric Flair said that I think if he says it in 2023 would still hold up. Like, you know, like about riding Space Mountain, or like I have shoes that cost more than your house. Like, who's not going to boo that in any era?
No, you're 100% right.
Like, it's not that it's my favorite, but shit like that always just stands out, especially when like you go back and like, I know they just put that Ric Flair documentary on Peacock, and like some of those old clips are in there, and you're just like this fucking guy was doing shit like this like 40 years ago at this point, and it's like still good now.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I feel like like the pipe bomb promo at its time. I know we've mentioned it on this show before, like the CM
Very
Punk one.
quickly, I was gonna say, it might be a cop out, but right now I'm just gonna say pipe bomb for my choice. Continue.
But it's not even that. And I'll say the MJF pipe bomb one was just as good
Mm-hmm.
from earlier this year.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as like good, the problem is like I don't have exact dates. It's probably like Paul Heyman stuff from throughout. I think I just more have like I don't think I have set promos. It's more like, all right, if this person's talking, I'm just gonna stop what I'm doing and listen, or I'm gonna watch the clip. And it's like a lot of Paul Heyman, probably a lot of Steve Austin from back in the day, The Rock.
Yeah. No, that's
Like,
fair. That's fair. It's hard to pick just one, obviously. I
right, like
mean,
it's hard to pick one
me,
promo, but like I more have people where, yeah, no, I'll let me see what this person says.
right off the top of my head, it's hard not to, as Skyler said himself, it's hard not to consider it kind of like cliche in a way, but like it's hard not to say that the pipe bomb promo is not up there for myself either. I mean, I remember when it happened. That was what got me back into wrestling, was the pipe bomb promo, because I had stopped watching wrestling for about 2-3 years, I think, at that point. And then Punk cut the pipe bomb promo. I started watching wrestling again, and then what, like a year or two later, I was training. Like that promo literally got me back into it. So
Shit.
it's up there. Yeah, it's up there for me for sure. The MJF promo that you mentioned, the Fire Me promo, I think that might be the best one that I've seen in the past probably 5 years for sure.
Yeah.
But that original pipe bomb promo by Punk literally got me back into wrestling, and probably is what, like, in a way, started my wrestling career.
No
And I
shit.
was a huge wrestling fan before that, but like I legit did not watch any. And when I mean did not watch, I mean no pay-per-views, I know no clips, no highlights on Facebook really. Like I did not give a shit about wrestling for a solid like 2-3 years. And then all of a sudden, Punk cuts his promo. And I remembered I enjoyed Punk when he first started in ECW and, WWE ECW. And I said at the time, because I especially think, like, I think I went to a house show at the Civic Center and he was there. And I remember saying there, I was just like, one, I said two things about him. I said, one, that finisher is going to knock somebody out one day. And two, that dude is awesome and he should be a top guy eventually. And then when, he becomes the top guy, he cuts his promo on Cena. Now all of a sudden I had to watch that whole Cena storyline. I literally was just like, well, I gotta watch Raw next week.
Yeah. Right on
And I got
that.
back into it. I watched Raw the next week. I watched the whole storyline leading up to the Money in the Bank match where he took the title and ran. And once he took the title and ran, like I remember watching that pay-per-view, even thinking, going,
We were
well,
all
this
together
is,
watching that one.
yeah, I remember.
Mm.
And I remember kind of being like, well, I mean, whatever happens after this, I don't know. Like I enjoyed kind of watching wrestling again a little bit, but like this is really all I kind of like started getting back into it for, was this whole thing. And if Punk's gone, I don't know if I'm gonna really be into it. And then like he wins the title and he leaves with the title, and now I'm like, son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Now I have to
Gotcha.
watch Raw tomorrow because like
Yep.
I never in a million fucking years expected Punk to win that match.
Yep. Gotcha, bitch.
Literally hook,
Gotcha,
line, and
bitch.
sinker.
I feel like the 2-3 years you're discussing weren't really any. I feel like that was like the drawn out, like maybe it was like the Del Rio era, and it was just like the Nexus era, and it just like it
Did you stop
wasn't.
watching after Benoit?
Yeah, it was after that wasn't the reason, but it was after that.
Okay.
It was post Benoit. I was still watching weekly when Benoit died. As a matter of fact, the episode, this is going to sound a little controversial maybe, but um I have something that you're never going to find on Peacock or the WWE network or anywhere else in the world.
The tribute episode?
I have the tribute episode.
Figures.
Like you have it
Because
like on your person now, or is it like in like?
I don't know. I could find it, I'm sure. Well, it might be back in New York. So if that's the case, it's lost forever. But the day where they did the tribute episode, if you guys remember, that was supposed to be the day that we found out who killed Vince McMahon. Or actually, it was supposed to be the Vince McMahon tribute episode. And
Actually, if you watch, it's funny. I saw like a random video because the Dark Side of the Ring has like little clips from that. in the Benoit episode of it, and like I like this is like I did not recall that they just canceled the show and did like empty arena because all they showed were like they didn't have like all they showed were like highlights. They showed like like the Mania match, and they showed like it was all like old clips. Like they didn't have like it wasn't
They
like when Eddie
closed with the Mania match.
right. It wasn't like when Eddie Guerrero died and they had like they still had like a live show, and like they had like obviously it wasn't like they had a bunch of like tribute matches, guys that wanted to wrestle and stuff. But like I didn't even remember that like they just didn't have a show. They just like Vince in the ring, empty arena, and
Vince,
then
who is supposed to be dead.
Yeah.
Like that's the whole crazy thing about it, because the reason why I have this tape is not because of the Benoit thing. Like I didn't just see like, oh shit, Chris Benoit died, I better fucking throw a tape in the VCR, I'm gonna want to watch this again. Like that wasn't it. What
now
happened
you
was,
see kids. I'm sorry, I have to interrupt. You see kids.
A VCR
before you could
TiVo.
before you could just click one
Wait,
button to
TiVo.
record a
What's
show.
TiVo?
I know
TiVo's
people don't even
not
know
even a
TiVo.
fucking thing anymore.
You had to put a tape in the VCR, hit record, make sure some
Outdated myself twice.
make sure some motherfucker in the house didn't change the channel on you, because then it would just. I actually had that happen to me. That I got TiVo.
Yeah.
Like I tried to record something and someone was flipping channels. So my VHS recorded tape was 5 minutes of my show I was recording and then flipping channels.
Yeah.
And then like the next day I went and got TiVo, and this was like 2005.
Yep. And
So,
now TiVo's not even a thing anymore. Now it's just everybody just has whatever service built into their cable contract.
Exactly. But so yeah, but yeah,
at the time,
you had to go get a blank tape and then hit a button and hope
record.
it came out well.
And what happened with me was that at the time I was really, really, really into this whole McMahon storyline thing. I had watched the episode the week before where the limo blew up with one of my best friends at the time. And we were both like really into it. So I was just like, all right, I need to see what happens. My girlfriend was coming over that day to my parents' house to come swimming because we had a pool in the backyard. She came over to go swimming. So because I knew she was coming, I set the VCR up to tape Raw because I was like, I'm not going to miss this episode of Raw with the Vince McMahon dying and shit like that. About 10 minutes into the episode, my brother comes out of the house and goes, hey, Chris Benoit died. They're talking about Chris Benoit on Raw right now. And I'm like, I'm in the pool with my girlfriend. I literally was just like, what? It's like, yeah, apparently he died today. I was like, I got out of the pool immediately. I was like, I need to go see this. Like I left my girlfriend. I was just like, I need to find out what's going on. Because as you guys know, Chris Benoit is one of my all-time favorites. It sucks because it's hard not to associate, obviously, what he did to his career. And the part of his career that I loved and respected so much, and then the part of him that I hate and vilify because of what he did, it's hard to admit that to a lot, it's hard to admit that sometimes. It's hard to admit what a fan of his I was, knowing now what we know now. But at that time, Chris Benoit was one of my top 3 guys in the company. He was one of my favorite wrestlers. I thought his whole career in WWE, obviously like I wasn't a big WCW guy, so I didn't know much of him until he came over with the Radicals and stuff. But once he got started there, I was a fan of him his whole career. I thought he was one of the best guys on the roster, especially technically. So when he died, it really hurt. It hit me. And I remember like I got out of the pool, went inside the house. My girlfriend came in and we sat inside, and I was like, I need to watch this. And she's like, okay, I understand. So we sat down and we watched fucking the whole tribute episode together. And my VCR was running the whole time because I had it set up to record for the Vince McMahon thing. So I have the tribute episode somewhere.
Who else here? Well, I mean, I guess the only other question is, okay, now you were watching it too. Who else also signed on to the internet before the tribute episode was over?
I didn't. I had
find
no
out
idea.
that it was a murder-suicide.
I had no idea until after I watched the episode. I don't think I logged in the internet while I was watching it because I don't even know. Like, I'm sure we had phones that were internet capable back in the day, but I don't think that we were so reliant on them. And I don't think it was so, it wasn't the same. Like you couldn't just like,
I think I just happened to have a computer nearby.
Yeah. Like if you wanted to log on to Facebook, you might've been able to do it through a browser. I don't even know if they had apps yet.
That's the thing. No, yeah, if you were lucky enough to have an internet browser that actually loaded, that was it.
Yeah. So it's
But
like I didn't hear about any of these things from my phone. So it wasn't until I think like maybe even like later that night or the next day that I found out.
yep, yeah, no, it was, I think everyone started finding out during that. I remember that. Because
Yeah.
again, if you go back and watch the Dark Side of the Ring, it's almost like they say, like, "Hey, this news is breaking as the episode's on." Like people didn't know before it aired.
Yeah.
It's like it's a no brainer. Obviously, if you know that he did all that, you're not going to air a tribute.
No, of course.
Yeah.
But
Which is why you
just
won't find
crazy.
it on Peacock or anywhere else, but I have it.
Mm.
And I don't know if that makes me morbid or if it makes me maybe possibly potentially wealthy.
Yeah. No. Well, it's
Both.
probably it'd probably
A
be
little bit
illegal.
of both, maybe. Yeah.
It'd be illegal to sell probably
Oh
just
yeah,
because
that's true. Yeah, I'm
it's
not. Yeah,
technically
I don't have
random,
the written consent.
a written consent of Major League Baseball.
Yeah, I don't. I didn't get that.
Let's see if someone was stupid enough to
This
listen to
game, the
anything.
results of this game are not to be discussed or recorded without the written consent of Major League
Exactly.
Baseball.
Right, exactly.
You know how ridiculous that warning is? Like it says in the warning it's not to be discussed. Like you're not supposed to like go to work and talk about the game.
Which, right? Could you imagine?
Could you imagine if that was an enforceable thing?
just everybody on the planet getting arrested? Whoops.
Just like you standing on the street. Hey, see that Mets game last night? And some cops behind you, and your friend's just like, ugh,
hey, you stop that. I do have a Chris Benoit action figure that I still have sealed, by the way.
Wow.
So I think I have it like in my basement here. So I may have to go pull that out, and not even to sell, but like only because I did a search and like
We mentioned his name a lot tonight. We didn't call him Michael McGillicuddy once.
Ooh, we didn't. Ooh, it might be. Is it this one? I don't know if it's this one. If it's this one, someone's got it on eBay for like $45. That's not worth it to sell it. Because I know for sure I didn't pay for that. So it'd be a profit, but like
At what cost?
No. Yeah, exactly.
Fuck
No,
that.
I'll just keep it.
All right.
Now I'm curious. But
We got anything else, boys?
Nah.
his promos weren't very. He was more great wrestler. If we want to talk about someone that just wasn't very good at promos.
I loved him though. I loved his work in the ring.
Listen, you have to separate the art from the artist sometimes. And like in the same breath, you can say, well, gee, he was a terrible person, but an amazing wrestler. I think that's where you got to stand with it.
I'll say this, like for me, like I can still watch some Chris Benoit matches and still be entertained and not overly, I guess, kind of I don't even know how to word it, but like I can still watch a Chris Benoit match and enjoy it. I'll put it that way.
I'll say that like when I'm watching,
because I've also heard a lot of people say that they can't. And what I will say is this: I understand both sides of it.
Yep.
And if you're one of those people who can't, I don't fault you. I understand it. I completely get it. And if you're one of those people who can, like me, I also can get it because those matches entertained us. They were part of our youth and they were something that we enjoyed. And unfortunately, the man who was responsible behind it turned out to be what he was. But it's almost like a form of nostalgia to go back and watch some of that stuff.
If I do put on an old show and he like has a segment or a match, I watch it. But every time like you hear the music hit, there's always that little like, ooh, this feels like I shouldn't be watching this. Like it feels like it.
I have his theme song in my Spotify playlist still. It's still on. Like his song is still on Spotify.
It's Our Lady Peace. It's not like if it was like
I know.
If it was like a typical WWE track, it'd be scrubbed.
I think the WWE version is still out there too, actually. But no, maybe not. But I can't remember if whatever I have. But like it's on my Spotify playlist. So and as I'm driving around, I usually have it on random. And there's plenty of times I'll be driving around and then all of a sudden you do and I'm just like, oh shit.
Do they perform that song live?
It's on there.
No, they
or do they stop?
As soon as it
they
happened,
retired it, right?
They said flat out they're not gonna never gonna play it again.
Yeah.
Like obviously it's not their only song, like they're a good band, but it's like I guess that makes sense.
Cody Rhodes' favorite band, apparently.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
I heard that in an interview somewhere. And somebody asked him, "What's your favorite band?" He said, "Our Lady Peace." And the internet lost its, like Twitter lost its mind for a day
Well,
because
naturally.
oh, you know what song those guys did, right? Oh,
No, tell us.
Yeah, somewhere out there. Idiots.
know you're out there. I remember that song.
Somewhere
Anyway,
that was a great
Yeah.
song.
anyway, some butt plugs and some crack sprinkles.
Yeah, let's sprinkle some crack on this one. Promos, folks. They're good.
Speaking
Something
of
where
promos,
if I was standing in the living ring and someone said talk, I would probably just shit myself and go, can't do it.
oh,
Hey,
I've had really good ones and I've had some pretty bad ones.
Some professionals do that, so it's fine.
Yep.
I
said fuck on the microphone once. Quick promo story before we leave.
Yeah.
I definitely said fuck on the microphone once.
Yeah, I remember this story.
Because I started basically the guy I was talking about in my promo, I called him the wrong name. And that flustered me up and it fucked me up for the rest of the promo. So where I was just like, as much as I would love to kick your ass all over this place, but fucking, and that's how it happened. I was just like, but fucking, and like trying to like segue into another thing I was gonna say. And then as soon as I said it, the whole audience, oh, everybody oohed me, and I got so nervous. I just kept fucking up after that. I get to the back. Brian Johnson, I'm name dropping now. Brian Johnson goes, "Hey, it was a good promo you cut out there. You sounded pretty convincing. You sounded good. You didn't hear me say fuck on the mic? You said fuck on the mic?"
Nope.
Yeah, I said fuck on the mic. He goes, "Well, don't do that again." But other than that, it sounded good.
Shout out Mecca.
Nice.
Mecca versus everybody.
Listen, follow us on social media that we don't post on. I swear I'll get a post out for this, and I'll just say, hey, you want a month worth of podcasts to listen to? Well, we got it.
Is that where we're at?
I started rebuilding the Facebook.
Hey, do your thing, because I've given up on Facebook. I suppose we're on. Listen, if you are a middle-aged white lady that still uses Facebook and are listening to this, then we're at 6-Man Tag Podcast on Facebook, I think.
Yes.
Well, thanks, because that's pretty much that's the Facebook demographic nowadays. But we are on Instagram at 6-Man Tag Podcast, and we're on Twitter at 6-Man Tag. Again, Apple, Spotify, 6-Man Tag Podcast. Please follow us. And YouTube, 6-Man Tag Podcast. Please hit that subscribe button. Turn that fucking bell on. Get those notifications. Listen to our shit.
Motherfucker.
Let's get the rest of the butt plugs out. Let's plug some music.
Hey, if you like music, because I like music, you should check out the Paperweight Project. The Paperweight Project on Instagram, SoundCloud, and YouTube. Hopefully soon to be on Spotify and Apple iTunes as well. I'm working on that. Got some things coming up in the future. Got some ideas. First of which being what's going to be called Collection 1. I'm looking forward to dropping that. It's going to be a collection of 10 songs written by myself, performed by myself and John Hooten. And that is going to be dropping hopefully very soon. I have a bunch in the can. There's just final touches I have to do on a few, and then a few more I have to actually get done. But looking forward to dropping that. So check it out on all those platforms I mentioned earlier. And also while you're at it, check out a whole new show, the Paperweight Podcast. Oh, that's right. The Paperweight Podcast. There's 2 paperweight things involved here. All right. The Paperweight Podcast is a spot where myself and my formerly mentioned partner, John Hooten, musical partner, get to kind of just shoot the shit every week. Talk about what we're up to, talk about our family life, talk about kind of what we're watching or what we're like. This past week, we talked about Last of Us a little bit, obviously, and we talked about the Super Bowl. Episode 1, by the way, boys, is going to be dropping. I'm looking to drop it this Sunday. So that's right. I'm going to put it on all the socials as well. The Twitters, the Instagrams, probably not the Facebook because I'm not on that and you have to be on it to start one. So that's not going to happen, but Instagram, Twitter, and then eventually, obviously,
I'll link it on the 6-Man Tag page.
Yes. Perfect. And then eventually, obviously, also on Spotify, iTunes, anywhere you get your podcast news, YouTube as well. There will be a video version of it going up, just like there is on this show. So check it all out at all those spots, the Paperweight Podcast. looking forward to having you guys on soon. I was trying to make it work this week, but scheduling a little, little boss man scheduling and mixed with a little child.
Oh, the big boss man. Hey, thanks for hooking us up this week, by the way. God damn it.
It wasn't really his choice on that one, but anyway. But yeah, looking forward to having you guys on. We're going to talk, obviously we'll talk some wrestling. We'll talk about what we do on this show, but also just kind of shoot the shit with John. And, as you guys know, I wish Skyler was a part of it, but one of my favorite episodes of this show was when we had John on and got to kind of just have fun and shoot the shit and talk to him and show him Katie Vick. So, to have you guys all shoot the shit with us together will be a lot of fun, but that's enough of my butt plugs. Let's move on. Mr. Skyler, what do you got?
What are you playing?
I'm still playing Persona 3. I will get to Last of Us, I swear. Forget about Rumbleverse. Apparently they decided, we're done with that game.
What do you mean? I downloaded it. What do you mean?
Yeah, they're like, we're not going to update or do anything else anymore. That game's done.
So is it still running, or did they just shut down the servers?
You can still play it,
but they're not going to update it or upgrade it in any way.
Nope.
So it's still playable. Fuck it.
All right.
Is this the modern day Flappy Bird? I can't do this anymore.
No.
Pull it down.
No, live service games just don't last as long as they used to.
Yeah, this is true.
I mean,
everyone's
I'm amazed Destiny 2 is still going.
I don't know if everyone's trying to get the next like Fortnite where everybody plays it. That's free to play.
People still play Final Fantasy 12. That's like still a thing.
12?
Yeah, wasn't that the online one or 11? One of them.
11 and 14.
Okay, I feel like people still play 11.
There are people that still play 11, and 14 is actually
that game's like 15 years old.
I know, but
crazy.
14 is like bigger than WoW.
Is it really?
Jeez.
Wow. Oh yeah, it's been for a while. The only reason I don't play is because I don't feel like paying $15 a month.
Nah,
Oof.
can't blame me there.
You can play up to
that's pretty hefty.
Yeah, that's a lot for one game.
Apparently, you could play like up to level 50 or something like for free, but it's like,
yeah, fuck all that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
agreed.
So yeah.
Hey, listen, good shit as always this week. Next week, what are we going to talk about? I mean, I suppose we'll have to talk about my heart getting ripped out of my chest by Roman Reigns. I guess by Sami Zayn, since we'll be past Elimination Chamber next week. But I don't know. Act like we ever announce these fucking topics before. We come up with these topics 10 minutes before we hit record sometimes. So we got nothing for you for next week if you need a preview, except that. Except I'm sure I'll have something to say.
I'm sure we'll talk about Elimination Chamber anyway.
We'll have something to say. It'll make WrestleMania a little more clear. Yeah. It's funny how the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, there's an Elimination Chamber match, but I'm kind of like, I'll watch, but I'm mainly watching this for this main event.
Right.
Yeah. That's fair.
But I guess there's another one. I don't even know. See, I don't even know. Just Roman and Sami. That's what I want in Montreal. Because the pop's going to be incredible. That's what I'm watching for.
Oh, yeah. Sammy's over in Canada, baby.
Crowd's going to be big fucking roller coaster. Can't wait. Again, we got all the plugs out. Again, thanks for listening. Again, follow us, hit subscribe, do all that bullshit that I just said like 2 minutes ago. And hey, thanks. This is episode 50. We've done 50 of these again. 50. Like, I guess 2 more, and that technically makes like a year's worth of like actually recording episodes. So that's kind of cool too.
Yeah, it is actually.
So like I'm celebrating,
I still can't wait for the big one, boys. We're
19.
We're so close. 19
we're
away.
19 away.
19 away. We have to do something for that episode, by the way. Like,
what's that going to fall?
Wouldn't be
on?
us if we didn't.
Wait. 19 weeks. No, damn it. Nope. Too far out. I was like
June 9th.
Yeah.
We still never had our annual 6-9 pay-per-view.
Because it's
start
because it's forever just a shit posting.
Yeah.
I just make these stupid memes of Slurms McKenzie against Joe Patrick in a what I say, a 30 rack on a pole match.
30 rack on a pole match, yeah.
The winner, there's no winner until all 30 beers are consumed. Don't forget, don't
me and Andy is the dark match.
The dark match,
the non-televised dark match.
Yeah, exactly. It gets the people in the building going, thinking they're going to get great wrestling, and then it's not.
Oh, I wish we did that once.
Oh,
it would have been like Southpaw. It would have literally been like filming an episode of Southpaw.
Or it just would have been the South Park wrestling episode, but our version, because there would be no actual
no actual wrestling.
Just keep saying this is wrestling. Fucking love it. But 19 away from that. But yeah, good shit this week. And hey, we'll see you next week. Till next time. For Craig, for Skyler, I'm Mike. I don't know why I said that weird. For Craig, I
call me Tyler.
Yeah, for Craig, for Skyler with an S, no last names. I'm Mike. Hey, until next time. Peace, everybody. Goodbye. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Tell them
Raw
bye.
bombs.